From the MVD Rewind collection comes an old favorite. This was a staple of the earlier days of the video store. From the makers of Enter the Dragon come a film really quite a bit like Enter the Dragon, which they often tended to do. This is Force 5 from 1981. This is a Blu-ray. This was previously put out in a limited edition by Scorpion Releasing, so they ported over the extras from that to this. And it is 96 minutes, directed by Robert Clouse, with Joe Lewis, Benny the Jet Urquidez, Amanda Wyss, called Mandy Weiss here, who you would know from if you're a fan of Better Off Dead or Nightmare on Elm Street. Tom Villard, if you're a friend of We Got It Made or Popcorn or Surf 2. Bong Suhan, Richard Norton, Sonny Barnes, and Pam Huntington. It comes with optional English subtitles. Basically, apparently it's sort of a remake of a Jim Kelly film from '76 called Hot Potato, which I've got, but I haven't really watched or don't remember. And basically a martial arts expert is hired by some organization or old friend of his to put together a team of fighters to break his daughter out of a cult compound, which is, of course, if you know the films of Robert Clouse, a fortress. That's something my friends and I, as we were getting into exploitation and martial arts films, noticed that every time the team of Enter the Dragon came together, they had to break somebody out of a fortress. They did it in Enter the Dragon. They did it in Black Belt Jones. They did it again and again and again, and they do it here. So it's a fun movie. It's got a great trailer. If you've ever seen it, look up the trailer. It's super fun. And it's just one of these early 80s films. It plays a lot like it was made for TV. Just the scoring and the shooting and a lot of the cast, a lot of familiar faces in this film, look like you're watching something that was like a pilot for a TV series. It feels like a pilot for a TV series. A lot of the people they say in the trailer were martial arts champions, world champions or national champions of martial arts, each bringing their own style. You might recognize Joe Lewis was in a film called Jaguar, or Man Called Jaguar. Sonny Barnes was in Battle Creek Brawl or Big Brawl in the Say 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 video. He's the strong man in the Say 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 video, if you remember that. Tom Villard, as I said, was in a bunch of things. Bong Suhan he was the bad guy in the Enter the Dragon spoof in Kentucky Fried Movie, and he was in a few things around this time, actual martial arts master. And Richard Norton, you would know if you like Hong Kong movies, like I like Hong Kong movies. He was in a ton of stuff. Later, he was in some English language stuff too, but he was like the Caucasian bad guy in a lot of things. And for me, always amusingly, notedly, in ABBA the movie, he is the Australian bodyguard and sort of personal trainer for Frida in that film before he was doing movies at that point. So people, and Pam Huntington apparently did very little, but she did some commercial work, so a lot of print work, and she was the female lead in They Call Me Bruce, which was made right around this time. So familiar faces. The foo is good. This isn't Hong Kong level choreography, but the action is good. And it's guys who really know what they're doing. So it's got a fun, funky score. The action is good. It is funny to me that Bong Suhan is dubbed here because it makes his character a little harder to take seriously, and it just reminds you even more of what he did in Kentucky Fried Movie, which was ridiculously silly. It's just a fun, goofy movie, and the action often plays out in wide shots where you can see what's going on. Again, this is the era before everything became the camera too close, camera too shaky, and cut within an inch of its life, where you just really couldn't see anything going on. You're allowed to appreciate and see what these guys are doing in this film. And there are some ridiculous moments. It's about a cult, which, cults were on everybody's minds post Jonestown in the late 70s, and a lot of films utilized that for dramatic or thrilling purposes, and them trying to bust these people out of a cult. One of the guys in the film, whose name I'm blanking on, unfortunately, was he played the lumberjack in Russ Meyer's Up. So it's interesting to see him in another movie around this time as just this big hulking martial arts guy. He gets a lot more dialogue than he does in Up. A lot more intelligent dialogue than he gets in Up too. But I love Up. It's a very strange film. It really represents well the kind of film, to me, that the average Joe, the average working class dude, was renting back in the early days of home video. This is the kind of thing that would have sat on the shelf at your local convenience store rental place, and people would rent it because it looks like a fun action movie. It's a fun action movie. One thing I will say, the transfer looks very good, but the volume was really low. Like, I had to crank the volume to hear it at what I would think would be a normal volume. And it's not the 5.1 garbage that we often have to deal with. It's just that for whatever reason, it's mastered very low. You crank it up to the right level, it sounds fine. It doesn't sound hissy or anything like that. But just be aware that before you get to the extras or the menu, you want to bring that volume back down, or else speaker or ear damage will incur. In my notes here that you don't see, usually I have my TV set at about 20. For this, I had to turn it up to 70. So I had to basically triple the volume to get it to where I thought it should be. Extras seem normal. So once you get back to the extras menu and bring that volume down, it all sounds like it should. And the extras are interesting. You get an interview with Joe Lewis. It's 4:3 standard def. It was obviously done for a specific reason, not for this release, but it is a very casual, occasionally funny, occasionally kind of crude interview with him, probably in a hotel room somewhere, talking about his career, but very specifically talking about working with Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee's philosophy and martial arts approach versus his own martial arts approach. So if you're into that kind of thing, it was really interesting. He doesn't talk about this movie at all. Or Jaguar at all. But if you want to know more about who this guy was and how seriously good and how thoughtful he was about the martial arts, you've got 50 minutes sitting with him. You get a Benny Urquidez interview. There's a couple of these, and it looks like they were maybe done for his website, and they happen to get a hold of him and put them on here. It is 4:3 standard def. It's basically a lesson in wrapping your hand before you go into training or fighting. A little bit of an explanation of what kickboxing is and some of his fight techniques. That's 9 minutes. You get another one of those that's labeled as Benny Urquidez Fight Featurette. It is actually, sorry, this was not for his website. It's a bit of an odd duck. It's 7 minutes. It's narrated in unsubtitled German, which I thought was a weird choice to just not subtitle what the German person was saying. If he is talking, it's just in English, and that's fine. You understand that. And it's basically him in the ring in Japan and then training his students in his LA school, maybe around the time of this movie, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. Certainly looks like late 70s, early 80s. It seems like maybe it was pulled from a larger piece and we're just seeing this part of it, but it's interesting. And then you get the original trailer, which is super fun and narrated by Ernie Anderson in Ernie Anderson's inimitable style. That's 2 minutes. And you get trailers for Knockoff, Lionheart, and a Double Impact. The quality of the Double Impact is not very good. It's a little jittery, like maybe old web video. The packaging, it's MVD Rewind Collection. So it is made to look like you're holding an old Media Home Entertainment tape with, some sticker residue and some wear and the video store stickers on there, which is pretty cool. And it was a little hard to get this off. And the back too, it looks like an old Media Home videotape, which, as a fan of the early days of home video, the independent stores, I love. I collect that stuff. And then the cover itself, a better looking copy without the fake wear and tear on it. Crack it open. The disc itself looks like you're looking down at a face labeled videotape, albeit square and not rectangular, as it would have been on a videotape. And then you get, alternate really nice poster art there. And then, as always, with the MVD Rewind Collection, we get a little mini poster, which again is the non-distressed version of that cover artwork. So this is a fun release. Is this one of the all-time great martial arts movies? Not at all. Is this a fun, goofy, early 80s movie that you could watch sort of alongside Jim Cotta? Not as goofy as Jim Cotta, but it does have its moments. Yes, I would recommend this. This is a Blu-ray from the MVD Rewind Collection. This from 1981 is Force 5.